Hey everyone, welcome to today's deep dive. We're tackling something I know a lot of you are curious about, software managers.
It's a hot topic for sure.
It is. You sent in some really interesting stuff from RoleCatcher, including a guide that seems like it covers everything. So for anyone out there who's dreamed of leading a software team, or maybe just wants to know what they actually do, let's dive in.
Sounds good.
The first thing that caught my eye was how RoleCatcher defines the role itself. They say it's about overseeing the acquisition and development of software systems, which honestly feels kind of broad.
It does, but I think they're trying to capture the full scope here. It's not just about coding. It's about understanding what software an organization needs, figuring out how to get it, and then guiding the whole development process.
So it's like being the architect, the general contractor, and the project manager all rolled into one.
Exactly. And notice how they also mention providing support to all organizational units. That really stood out to me because it highlights the collaborative nature of this role. You're not just working with your team, you're interacting with people from all different departments.
It's like being the tech ambassador, making sure everyone's on the same page.
Precisely. And that requires strong communication and people skills. They even listed active listening as a top skill for software managers, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, because usually you think of coding as the solitary thing, but being able to really hear what your team and even people outside the tech department are saying, that's huge.
It is. And it speaks to how much this role is about leadership. It's not just about writing the best code. It's about guiding people, motivating them, and creating an environment where everyone can do their best work.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, the guide also gets into specific skills, breaking them down by percentage, which I thought was kind of cool.
It's a very data-driven approach, which is fitting for the tech world, and monitoring came out on top.
64%. That's a lot of monitoring. What exactly are software managers keeping an eye on?
Well, think about it. They're responsible for the entire software development lifecycle. So they're monitoring the project's progress, the team's performance, even individual team members' growth.
So it's not just about making sure the code is clean, it's about the whole operation running smoothly.
Exactly. And they're not just looking for problems. Good software managers are also recognizing successes, analyzing what's working well, and using that information to make the entire process even better.
It's like they're constantly taking the pulse of the project, making sure everything is healthy and on track.
That's a great way to put it. And that constant analysis plays directly into another core skill they highlight, critical thinking.
Which came in at a close second, right? 61%. So walk me through this. Why is critical thinking so crucial for a software manager?
Because in this role, you're constantly facing new challenges, unexpected roadblocks, and tough decisions. You need to be able to quickly assess the situation, analyze the potential solutions, and choose the best course of action, often with limited information.
So it's that ability to think on your feet, make those judgment calls under pressure.
Exactly. And it's not just about putting out fires, it's about anticipating them. A good software manager is always thinking ahead, identifying potential risks, and developing contingency plans.
So it's almost like playing chess, always thinking several moves ahead.
That's a great analogy, because you're right, it's strategic thinking. They need to see the bigger picture while also managing all those smaller details.
And that probably ties into the whole coordination aspect, which was another big one on the list.
All right, coming in at 59%. Think of it this way. Software development involves a lot of different people, processes, and technologies. The software manager is the one making sure it all works together seamlessly.
It's like being the conductor of an orchestra, making sure everyone's playing in sync.
Exactly. They're coordinating their team's efforts, communicating with stakeholders, keeping everyone informed and on track. It's a very dynamic role.
That makes sense. Now, one thing that really surprised me, given all that responsibility, was that RoleCatcher listed good work-life balance as a potential pro of being a software manager.
I know. You'd expect it to be all late nights and stressful deadlines, right?
Exactly. So what's the deal with that? Is RoleCatcher just trying to sugarcoat things?
I don't think so. I think it speaks to how the role is evolving. Yes, there will always be pressure, but more and more companies are recognizing the importance of work-life balance, even in the tech industry.
So maybe it's about finding the right company culture, one that values their employees' well-being.
Absolutely. And that's something anyone interested in this career path should definitely research. Don't be afraid to ask about work-life balance during interviews.
That's a good point. Now, speaking of interviews, RoleCatcher had a whole section on that too, right? With some kind of AI feature.
They do. It's called RoleCatcher Copilot AI, and it's designed to give you personalized feedback on practice interview questions.
Wow, that's cool. It's like having a personal interview coach in your pocket.
Exactly. It shows how they're not just providing information, they're really trying to give people practical tools to succeed in their job search.
I like that. So, for those who are just starting out, what does the typical path to becoming a software manager look like? Because I imagine you don't just graduate college and step right into that role.
You're right. RoleCatcher actually outlines a pretty clear career path. They break it down into 5 stages, starting with junior software developer.
Okay, so you're starting at the ground level, learning the ropes.
Exactly. Think of it like an apprenticeship. You're assisting senior developers, writing code, doing a lot of testing, and most importantly, absorbing everything you can.
So, a lot of learning on the job. What kind of things would a junior software developer be working on?
They might be helping to build new features for existing software, fixing bugs, or writing tests to make sure the code is working correctly. It's a lot of hands-on experience that helps you build a strong foundation.
It makes sense to start with the basics. So, once you've got some experience under your belt as a junior developer, what's the next step up?
That's where you move into a full-fledged software developer role. Now you're taking on more responsibility, designing and building software solutions more independently.
So, less taking orders and more taking charge.
Exactly. You're collaborating more directly with other teams, figuring out what they need from the software, and then actually building it.
That sounds like a pretty big jump. What kind of skills do you need to make that leap from junior to regular developer?
Well, on top of those coding chops, you need to be a strong problem solver. Things will inevitably go wrong, and you need to be able to debug code, troubleshoot issues, and find creative solutions.
So you're not just writing code anymore, you're becoming a bit of a detective too.
Exactly. You need that analytical mind to figure out why something isn't working and how to fix it. And you also need to be a good communicator because you'll be working with people from different backgrounds, some of whom might not be as tech-savvy.
It's about translating those technical details into something everyone can understand.
Precisely. And as you gain more experience and expertise, you naturally progress to the role of senior software developer.
Okay, so tell me, what sets a senior developer apart from the pack?
At this level, it's about more than just writing great code. Senior developers are leaders, mentors to those junior developers coming up behind them. They're also problem solvers on a larger scale, anticipating challenges and coming up with solutions that benefit the entire project.
So they're not just thinking about their own piece of the puzzle, they're seeing the whole picture.
Exactly. And they're often the ones called upon to make technical decisions that impact the entire project. They might lead code reviews, ensuring everyone is following best practices, or they might be responsible for researching and implementing new technologies.
So they're leading the charge on innovation. That sounds like a pretty influential position.
It is. And it's a natural stepping stone to the next stage, software development team lead.
Ah, now we're into management territory. What does it mean to be a team lead in the software world?
This is where those leadership skills really come into play. As a team lead, you're directly responsible for a group of developers. You're assigning tasks, managing workloads, and making sure everyone is working together effectively.
So it's like being the coach of a sports team,
Right.
right? Motivating your players, strategizing, and making sure everyone is performing at their best.
That's a great analogy. You're also the main point of contact for your team, communicating with stakeholders and advocating for your team's needs.
So not just the technical expert, but a people manager as well.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
And that experience as a team lead is invaluable preparation for the ultimate goal, becoming a software manager.
Which brings us full circle. Now, we've talked a lot about the skills and responsibilities, but I'm curious, what does RoleCatcher say about the day-to-day reality of being a software manager? What's it actually like to be in that role?
Well, they highlight that it varies depending on the company and the specific industry, but generally software managers can expect to work in an office environment, although with the rise of remote work, that's becoming more flexible.
So maybe not coding from a beach hammock just yet, but at least there's potential for flexibility.
Exactly. And while there will be meetings and administrative tasks, a big part of the job is about communication and problem solving.
So still very much a people role, even at the management level.
Absolutely. They're constantly interacting with their team, with stakeholders, and often with clients, making sure everyone's needs are met and that the project is moving in the right direction.
Speaking of different needs, RoleCatcher mentioned something called alternative titles for software managers. What's that all about?
It's important to remember that job titles aren't always uniform. Some companies might call it ICT Service Manager or even Telecommunications Manager, depending on their focus.
So someone could be doing essentially the same job, but with a slightly different title.
Exactly. That's why it's important to look beyond just the title when you're job hunting and focus on the actual responsibilities and required skills.
Makes sense. Don't want to miss out on a great opportunity just because the title is a little different. Now, we've talked a lot about climbing the ladder, but for those just starting their climb, what advice does RoleCatcher have for staying ahead of the curve in such a fast-paced field?
They have a whole section on knowledge and learning, and one thing they emphasize is the importance of continuous learning. They recommend attending workshops and conferences, joining online communities, and staying updated on industry news and trends.
So it's not enough to just learn how to code. You need to be constantly evolving your skill set.
Exactly. The tech landscape changes so quickly, so staying curious and being willing to learn new things is essential.
It's like being a lifelong student of technology.
Precisely. And that might involve reading industry blogs and articles, listening to podcasts like this one, or even just experimenting with new technologies in your free time.
Now, you mentioned that RoleCatcher has a whole section dedicated to software manager FAQs. I'm curious, what kind of burning questions are people asking about this role?
They run the gamut. Some are basic, like what does a software manager do daily?
Hmm.
While others delve into the more challenging aspects, such as keeping up with rapidly changing technologies, managing tight deadlines, and dealing with limited resources.
So they're not shying away from the tough stuff?
Not at all. They're providing a realistic picture of the role, both the rewards and the challenges, which I think is incredibly valuable.
It's about setting realistic expectations for anyone considering this career path.
Exactly. And they address some of the bigger questions, too, like how to advance your career, what certifications are valuable, and even how to negotiate a salary.
It's like they thought of everything.
They really did. And it speaks to their commitment to providing comprehensive and accessible career development resources.
Now, one thing that really stood out to me was their section on career progression. They go beyond just listing job titles. They actually paint a picture of what a typical career trajectory might look like.
I love that part. They provide these really detailed example profiles of individuals at each stage of the software management career path, which helps to make it all feel much more tangible and achievable.
It's one thing to say you could be a software manager someday, but it's another thing entirely to see an example of someone who's actually done it, to see their career path laid out before you.
Exactly. And they don't just focus on the technical skills either. They highlight the importance of soft skills like communication, leadership, and problem solving, which are essential for success at all levels.
So it's about being well-rounded, not just a coding machine.
Precisely. And that's a message that I think is so important, especially for young people who are just starting out in their careers.
It's about developing the whole package. Now, I'm dying to hear more about these example profiles. Could you walk us through a few of them, starting with, of course, the junior software developer?
Absolutely. RoleCatcher describes a junior developer as someone with a strong foundation in coding who's eager to learn, contribute to the team, and gain hands-on experience. They might be recent graduates or career changers, but they all share a passion for technology and a desire to build cool things.
So lots of enthusiasm and a willingness to learn. I imagine that goes a long way, especially at the entry level.
Absolutely. And while they might not have years of experience, they're eager to prove themselves and contribute to the team.
They're like sponges, soaking up knowledge and eager to put it into practice. What about the next step up, the software developer?
That's where they start to hit their stride. They've moved beyond the basics and are now designing, coding, and testing software applications more independently.
So they're given more autonomy and responsibility.
Exactly. They're trusted to take on more challenging tasks and to work more independently. They're also becoming more adept at collaborating with others, gathering requirements from stakeholders, and translating those needs into technical solutions.
So their communication and problem-solving skills are really starting to shine through at this stage.
Absolutely. They're becoming more well-rounded developers, and their contributions to the team are becoming more significant.
It sounds like a pivotal point in their career journey. And what about the senior software developer? What sets them apart?
At this level, they've become the go-to experts, the mentors for those junior developers coming up behind them. They have a deep understanding of the software development lifecycle and are able to guide and support their team members through all stages of a project.
So they're not just writing code anymore, they're shaping the way code is written.
Exactly. They're also highly influential in technical decisions, often leading code reviews, conducting technical analysis, and recommending new technologies and best practices. They're the ones who set the bar for quality and efficiency within the team.
It sounds like a challenging but incredibly rewarding role.
It is. And often, they're the ones who are tapped for leadership positions.
Which brings us to this software development team lead. What can you tell us about this critical leadership role?
Well, as the name suggests, they're responsible for leading a team of software developers, coordinating their work, and ensuring that projects are delivered on time and within budget. They're the ones who set the tone for the team, create a positive and productive work environment, and foster a culture of collaboration and excellence.
So they're not just managing tasks, they're managing people.
Exactly. They're also responsible for mentoring and coaching their team members, helping them to develop their skills and advance their careers. They're the ones who create a supportive and challenging environment where everyone can thrive.
It sounds like a demanding role, but also incredibly rewarding.
It is, and it's a natural stepping stone to becoming a software manager.
Which brings us full circle to the role we've been exploring this whole time. Now, before we dive into the software manager profile, I'm curious, what are some of the key takeaways RoleCatcher highlights for those aspiring to reach this level?
They emphasize the importance of being adaptable and continuously learning. The tech landscape is constantly changing, so those who are able to adapt, embrace new technologies, and constantly update their skills will be the ones who thrive in this field.
So it's not just about what you know today, it's about your willingness to learn and grow in the future.
Exactly. And they also highlight the importance of building relationships and networking within the industry. Attending conferences, joining online communities, and connecting with mentors can be invaluable for career growth.
It's about building your network and learning from the best in the business.
Precisely. And finally, they emphasize the importance of developing those all-important soft skills: communication, leadership, and problem solving.
Because at the end of the day, it's not just about the code, it's about the people.
Exactly. The most successful software managers are those who can not only navigate the technical complexities of software development, but also inspire and motivate their teams to achieve great things.
And that brings us back to those example profiles. What does a typical software manager look like in this field?
They're experienced leaders with a proven track record of success in software development. They're able to think strategically, manage complex projects, and make sound decisions that align with the goals of the organization. They're also exceptional communicators, able to build strong relationships with stakeholders and advocate for their team's needs.
So they're the complete package. Technical experts, strategic thinkers, and inspiring leaders.
Precisely. And they're passionate about using technology to solve problems and make a positive impact on the world.
That's inspiring. It sounds like a career path with a lot to offer those who are up for the challenge.
It definitely is. And with resources like this RoleCatcher guide, aspiring software managers have all the tools they need to navigate their journey and achieve their goals.
Speaking of resources, we haven't even touched on RoleCatcher's AI-powered interview prep tool.
We haven't. It's called RoleCatcher Copilot AI, and it's designed to give you that extra edge in your job search.
So what's so special about it? How does it actually work?
Well, it uses artificial intelligence to analyze your practice interview responses and provide you with personalized feedback. It can assess things like your clarity, your conciseness, even your body language if you're doing a video interview.
Wow, that's amazing. It's like having a virtual career coach in your pocket.
Exactly. And it's not just generic feedback, it's tailored to the specific role you're applying for, so you can be sure you're putting your best foot forward.
That's incredibly helpful. So it's not just about what you say, it's about how you say it.
Absolutely. In today's competitive job market, every little detail counts, and this tool can help you fine-tune those interview skills and make a lasting impression.
I love that. It's like having a secret weapon in your job search arsenal.
Exactly. And it just shows how RoleCatcher is going above and beyond to provide practical, actionable resources that can truly make a difference in people's careers.
They're not just telling you what to do, they're giving you the tools to actually do it.
Precisely. And that's what makes them such a valuable resource for anyone navigating the world of work, whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned professional looking for your next challenge.
Well said. Now, I know we've been focusing a lot on the practical aspects of becoming a software manager, but I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier, the human element. In a field that's often seen as being all about technology, how important are those soft skills?
They're absolutely essential. As technology continues to evolve at a rapid pace, It's our ability to connect with others, communicate effectively, and solve problems collaboratively that will truly set us apart.
So it's not just about being a coding wizard, it's about being a people person too.
Exactly. And that's something that this role catcher guide really emphasizes throughout. They highlight the importance of building relationships, fostering collaboration, and creating a positive and supportive work environment.
So it's not just about what you build, it's about how you build it.
Exactly. And that's a message that I think is so important, especially in today's world, where technology is becoming increasingly integrated into every aspect of our lives.
It's about using technology for good, and that requires a human touch.
Absolutely. And the most successful software managers understand that their role is about more than just managing code. It's about managing people, inspiring innovation, and creating a better future for everyone.
And that's a mission we can all get behind. Now, I know we've covered a lot of ground today, from the nitty-gritty of coding to the importance of empathy and collaboration. But there's one last thing I wanted to touch on: the future of software management.
With all the advancements in artificial intelligence and automation, it's an exciting and perhaps slightly daunting time to be in this field.
Exactly. So let's put on our futurology hats for a moment. How do you see the role of a software manager evolving in the years to come? It's interesting to think about how AI and automation might free up software managers to focus on the bigger picture stuff.
Right. Imagine a world where AI handles those routine, time-consuming tasks we talked about earlier. Things like uh, scheduling meetings,
Yeah.
generating reports, maybe even doing some basic code analysis.
So kind of like having a super efficient assistant that takes care of all the busy work.
Exactly. And that frees up the software manager to focus on those higher-level tasks that require uniquely human skills.
Okay, I'm hooked. Like what kind of skills? Give me an example.
Well, think about things like leading and inspiring a team, navigating complex stakeholder relationships, or making ethical decisions about the development and deployment of new technologies. These are all things that AI, at least with our current understanding, isn't equipped to handle.
That makes sense. You can't program empathy or intuition into an algorithm, at least not yet.
Exactly. And I think that's where the real value of a software manager will lie in the future. They'll become less about managing the mechanics of software development and more about leading with vision, creativity, and a deep understanding of the human impact of technology.
It's almost like they become philosophers as much as technologists.
I love that. Because it's true, they'll need to be asking those big picture questions. What are we building? Why are we building it? And how will it impact the world?
So it's about ensuring that technology serves humanity, not the other way around.
Precisely. And that requires a level of ethical awareness and social responsibility that goes far beyond simply writing lines of code.
It's a heavy responsibility, but also an incredibly exciting opportunity to shape the future.
Absolutely. And I think these software managers who embrace this expanded role, who are willing to learn and adapt to the changing technological landscape, will be the ones who lead the way in creating a more equitable and sustainable future.
That's a powerful thought. It seems like RoleCatcher, even without having all the answers about the future, really nailed it with their emphasis on continuous learning and adaptability.
They did. And they also highlighted something else that I think is crucial for navigating this rapidly changing landscape, the importance of human connection.
In a world that's becoming increasingly digital, it's easy to forget that at the heart of it all are people.
Right. And building strong relationships, fostering a sense of community, and creating a work environment where everyone feels valued and respected will be more important than ever.
So even as technology advances, those fundamental human values remain essential.
Absolutely. And the software managers who prioritize those values, who lead with empathy and understanding, will be the ones who create the most innovative and impactful technologies.
That's a great message to end on. So to all the aspiring software managers out there, embrace the challenge, never stop learning, and remember that the future of technology is ultimately in your hands.
Well said. It's been a pleasure diving deep into this topic with you today.
The feeling is mutual. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey of discovery. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.